You are listening to the Free Spirit Astrology Podcast. Welcome back to the Free Spirit Astrology Podcast. I'm your host, Brandy Williams, here to bring you the updates for the week ahead, even though we're already in the week. Happy Wednesday, everyone. So, how y'all doing? We are in a pretty high voltage week. Although I'm not feeling very high voltage right now, even though today is our full moon. But nevertheless, let's go ahead and get right into the transits of the week that we are currently in. Monday, February 10th, Mercury in Aquarius came into a square with Uranus and Taurus, bringing us into a week of peak mental stimulation for many of us. So, Mercury is the planet that represents the mind and communication and how we process information and all the things, the thoughts and stuff like that. And Uranus is the great liberator and also the planet of the higher mind. It's the higher octave of Mercury. So it represents the higher mind, divine communication, and just these psychic flashes of ideas that just seem to fall in our laps. It's also a planet of breaking us out of norms and comfort zones and shaking up some things. And when it's in Taurus, it usually shakes up what we thought was stable or what we've been sticking to, but it's not really aligned for us to go into the next season. So, with all of that, we could experience mental bursts of energy this week, sudden insights and downloads, quirky, brilliant ideas that just seem to flash into our heads, crazy dreams, very intense dreams, crazy stuff happening on the news. But yeah, that's the norm now. So things happening with transportation and technology, hiccups in communication and, misunderstandings, or just maybe saying something faster than we thought, things like that. Overthinking things. It can feel hard to listen to what others are saying, or it can just be a lot of conflicting advice or something, and it just feels like a lot of noise. Something could have us feeling really overwhelmed and overstimulated this week. And that's just because there's so many thoughts swirling, there's so many words swirling, and we're just kind of feeling just really mentally activated. Then Tuesday, February 11th, the Sun in Aquarius made a square to Uranus and Taurus. So once again, Uranus and Taurus is going to be really active this week as we lead up to today's full moon. So more of that Uranian wildcard energy as we build up, to tomorrow's full moon. Mental processing can be very sharp. There can also be just a lot of quick information. Just things seem like they're coming out of left field. And by now, we could be feeling really exhausted and destabilized in the body with all of this Aquarius energy and this Uranian energy, which is pretty much on the same wavelength. It's very much so in the head. More chatter, more news about what's going on in the world. But also, we are taking an increased focus on our individual paths, our individual journeys when the sun is involved. So we're thinking about what's going to happen to us personally. What do I need to do in my business? Is this aligned? Is this really me? How can I save money during unprecedented times? Am I okay at work? Is my job position secure? And just trying to stay focused, on our journey ahead. So if you have Taurus, Aquarius, Scorpio, or Leo, sun, moon, or rising sign, you could be feeling this intensely. And then today we have our full moon in Leo. Very dramatic, very fiery, very all the things. So we are in this Leo full moon where both luminaries will come into an exact square once again with Uranus and Taurus. So the moon is at 24 degrees of Leo, the sun is at 24 degrees of Aquarius, sun is sitting next to Mercury in Aquarius. So we have Mercury in Aquarius being really active this week, Uranus and Taurus being really active, which Uranus is the modern day ruler of that Aquarius energy. So we have ideas and we could be feeling real rebellious this week about something, really want to do something our own way. The mind is highly activated. So once again, we are coming into a lot of mental stimulation, weird dreams, shocking news about people in public spaces, and things being revealed on a world stage. And then we could be receiving some type of shocking news or revelations about people in our personal lives. This Uranus being in Taurus is, shaking up things in our stability. So perhaps there are triggers or something happening that is causing us to get more creative. To make different decisions and bold or creative decisions in our business or something that we're trying to make happen. And that's because that Uranus in Taurus is shaking up the financial spot. So when stuff gets shaken up in our money situations, we tend to get creative and we tend to want to make certain moves and stuff like that. Also, if you invest, you may see some volatility in the stock market, things happening with cryptocurrency. And I wouldn't be surprised if there are some developments with food and some weather situations happening with that Uranus and Taurus energy. We could also incur this week some sudden, unexpected divine messages, support from other people, or, just receiving some kind of support that we didn't expect. It was a shock, it was a surprise. Um, and that is to help us and support us to put ourselves out there in a different way. So full moons always bring revelations. It's revealing the things that were hidden, usually during a new moon, like we had the Aquarius new moon on January 29th. We usually plant a seed, we ask a question, we set an intention, and we're supposed to sit with that and go inward. And so what happens is that when the full moon comes around to complete that cycle, we receive some kind of confirmation or some kind of understanding. This can also be connected to the Leo new moon that happened 6 months ago. If something happened 6 months ago when we had a Leo full moon, and there was a Leo new moon, and there was an intention, perhaps we are receiving some kind of confirmation for that time. So wherever we have Leo in our birth chart, that moon is sitting there really asking us to have courage to put ourselves out there, have courage to speak up for ourselves, have the courage and the pride to remember that you are worthy or valuable. So perhaps we are starting some type of leadership position. We need to put ourselves on a stage and showcase our talents and our creativity. Perhaps it's time for you to start the blog or initiate a conversation with someone so they can stop handling you in a certain kind of way. Wherever we have Leo is where we are courageous and where we need to pop out and show somebody and be on, a center stage. And this is where we are showcasing our creativity and also connecting ourselves to things that feel like joy and that make us happy and that brings out the child in us. So there are some things that we're realizing about how we are connecting to joy, what's keeping us away from joy, where have we been playing it small, where have we been putting on masks, and what do we need to do that is more aligned and more authentic to us with that sun being in Aquarius. It's all about authenticity. It's all about how can I, bring these ideas into a situation and stand out in my own unique way. So, with that Uranus and Taurus energy, we are being asked to step out of our comfort zones. And if we don't step out of our comfort zone, something more than likely shakes us out of a comfort zone in some type of way. Usually with Taurus, it's financial stability, something going on with our property, something that usually makes us feel secure could be destabilized a bit with this Leo full moon square that Uranus in Taurus energy. So Aquarius energy does like to be in the head. It likes to really overthink things. It's overanalyzing. It's very technical. And we're being asked to really step out of overthinking something and just do the thing. We want to be aware of overanalyzing the steps because when we overthink our creativity, we tend to keep ourselves on the sidelines out of fear that something isn't obtainable, that we don't have the support to take that step, or to perhaps there is an opportunity and we feel like it's not doable. I don't have the funds, I don't have the support, I don't have the childcare or something like that. That Uranus and Taurus energy comes through as divine support, just dropping into our experience from seemingly nowhere. Sometimes it comes as ideas to bust us out of stagnation. Sometimes it is something that is providing us with a solution, or a person who has a great idea that we didn't think of. And sometimes it's literally a person that says, hey, I want to bless you with this amount of money, or it's a check from the shortage from the mortgage from the insurance company. It's an overpayment that is covering the expenses and carrying us to the next step. So finally, Friday, February 14th, Mercury, our intellect and mental faculties, will leave Aquarius and move into the sign of Pisces just in time for Valentine's Day. Our mental faculties are shifting gears. Mercury is going to go from the lightning fast, abstract, and innovative ideas of Aquarius to seeing the font in color, to writing the words of the emails or writing the words on the blog or our copy or whatever, and really wanting that to sing to the reader. Mercury in Pisces is very good when it comes to romantic, creative, and intuitive thinking and writing, but it is thought to be debilitated in the sign of Pisces, and that is because Mercury is home in the opposite sign of Virgo. It's exalted in the sign of Virgo, so it's really strong there, and it's furthest away from its strong place when it's in Pisces. And also because Mercury in Pisces is not very strong in the logical, practical, concrete thought processes. So when Mercury is in Pisces, we tend to get a little lost in translation. We can lose the plot sometimes when communicating with Mercury in Pisces. We could be in the middle of a story and bam, we just lost the point. It's just like, what was I saying? That's very much that Mercury and Pisces, not wanting to like really expound on something. Like, I don't have the energy to tell you this story over again. That's very Mercury and Pisces. But also when Mercury is in Pisces, emotional intelligence is top tier. This is where we are intuitively tapping into nonverbal communication, emotional cues from others. We can tell what's being said and what's not being said. We pick up on a lot of subtle nuances when Mercury is in Pisces, and we tend to sense multiple layers of communication, almost to the point where it feels a little telepathic. It's like, I know what you're trying to say, even though you're not saying it. But as a result of that, we can become extremely overwhelmed in the mind. And you may notice yourself wanting to check out and need some more rest and quiet from all the talking and all the listening and all the blogs and all the stories. It's kind of like an appliance when it gets oversurged and it just shuts down and you have to push that reset button. This is probably a lot of us coming to that point that this week is so electric. The last week, it could have been the last couple of weeks, have been so highly charged with words and thoughts and ideas that we are ready to shut down, and we're going to need about 10 seconds, 10 minutes, 10 days to unplug before we can start back up again. So that is all I have for this week. Apologize for my baby smacking on Cheez-Its in the background. She grown. But just a quick recap. There may be a lot of information coming to us this week or coming at us. There could be some shocking revelations and developments and ideas. That Uranus energy is fast paced, so beware of hastiness and accidents, especially when traveling long or short distances. You don't want to, be too impulsive. Just really watch out for you and the person next to you. If you are mentally overwhelmed, that is a sign to disconnect from the mind and drop into the body. Exercise, go outside. If it's raining, and ground on the wet grass, meditate or journal to really get that energy outside and onto something external. The full moon brings us new understandings, support, and ideas on how we can take center stage or step into a role of courage and leadership. So you want to trust the process, say what needs to be said, because you're probably not going to be able to hold it in anyway with that fire sign Leo energy. And if your mind has turned to melted candy, not to fear, that's just Mercury moving into the sign of Pisces, asking us to unplug and reset from such a busy minded week. And that is all I have for this week. I hope everyone has a great rest of the week and step into rest and step into your power and your light. And I will see you in the next one. Bye bye. You are listening to the Free Spirit Astrology Podcast.